I think we can all come to an agreement that the Houston Rockets have officially slammed the door shut on that rebuilding phase. They're coming off an exciting, entertaining, successful season where which they competed in a very loaded Western Conference, finished second place in the conference, winning 50 games, and they put up a good fight in their first round series against the Golden State Warriors, where they lost in 7 games. But as I watched that series, I didn't think that these young guys didn't belong on the court with Stephen Curry or Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green or coaching against Steve Kerr. And as a matter of fact, I think if the Houston Rockets did a couple of small things a little bit better, they're moving on to the second round of the 2025 NBA playoffs. For example, if they knock down their free throws at just a little bit of a higher clip, they could have been in the second round of the playoffs. But all in all, still a very successful season for the Houston Rockets, who I think going forward, this organization should be uber excited when we look at all of the things that they have lined up. And we look at the Houston Rockets, I think why they're in this position is because over these last 4 or 5 years, they just made all of the right decisions. And I think the biggest and the best decision that they made so far was bringing in Coach Ime Udoka. And I remember when that news first broke. In the same season, they got Coach Ime Udoka, they got Dylan Brooks, they got Fred VanVleet. I was like, I gotta make a video about this because Ime Udoka, he proved with the Boston Celtics that he could coach his behind off, but due to an unfortunate situation, he was let go by the Boston Celtics. And we know the expression, it fits so well here. One man's trash is another man's treasure. And that's exactly what we're witnessing with Coach Ime Udoka and his relationship with the Houston Rockets, because he's been able to come to this organization and give this young team full of talent an identity and a style, a playing style that is very effective. And we all know what that is. We watched it all season long. It was very entertaining in my opinion. But their style of play and their identity is that they're going to be a defensive minded team. They're going to be the most physical team every single night. They're going to hit the boards harder than every single team every single night. It doesn't matter if our shot isn't falling. It doesn't matter if our free throws isn't falling. It doesn't matter if we're not scoring the ball. We know our defense, our physicality, our rebounding is going to keep us in the game, and it's going to give us a chance on any given night. And I think the Houston Rockets proved that last season. So I love this addition to Coach Ime Udoka. And then we also look at the gift of James Harden. The gift of James Harden, he's been a huge gift to this organization, especially when he played for them handful of years, getting them to the playoffs every single year. And then also his departure was very unfortunate for the Houston Rockets, but the way he left, all the things that he's bringing back to this organization is definitely making up for it. But when we look at it, just losing a guy like James Harden, the offensive juggernaut that he is, we knew 9 times out of 10 the Houston Rockets were going to go into a serious rebuilding phase. So that right there alone, it has allowed the Houston Rockets at the perfect time with so much young talent coming into the NBA to be at the top of the NBA draft lottery. When we look at them getting guys like Jabari Smith Jr. and Jalen Green at the top of the draft, and then we also look at them getting Amen Thompson at the top of the draft. And then also the James Harden trade has allowed them to get additional first round picks, guys that turned into Cam Whitmore, guys that turned into Tari Eason, and even a top 3 pick that turned into Reed Shepherd. And it doesn't stop there. The gift of James Harden has continued into this season as the Houston Rockets, they find themselves in the NBA draft lottery once again with the number 10 pick after winning 50 games and getting into the postseason. So I think this right here, them having this number 10 pick, and not just because it's a lottery pick, but like when we look at the collection of what the Houston Rockets already have, they have more first round picks going past this season. They have a bunch of young players, and I know you guys love all of these young players on this team. So do I, especially since I've watched all of them come to this team, since I've been keeping a close eye on the Houston Rockets. It's easily to form a connection for these players, but these guys are so good. We know that the Houston Rockets, they're not going to be able to pay all of these guys. So I'm looking at the number 10 pick right off the bat and all of the assets that they have. The Houston Rockets, they can go out there and get a player that makes their team even better than what they were last season, and they were pretty damn good. So I don't even live in the city of Houston, but I'm very excited for what's to come for this organization because they have a lot of great things going. And like I said, having Coach Ime Udoka at the helm, he's still a very, very young considered for an NBA coach. The Houston Rockets got something special cooking, and I think the first thing I want to do, just to hypothetically speak, just to look at some of these trade targets that the Houston Rockets can go over and get using this first round pick, using some of their future assets, and potentially using some of the assets that they already have on their team. Now, we kind of already talked about one trade for the Houston Rockets on the channel so far, and that was the trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And as enticing as it is to bring in somebody like Giannis to your organization, as dominant as he is, the Bucks asking price, or their reported asking price, I should say not all, but most of us came to an agreement that asking price was just a little bit too high. They wanted either Alperen Şengün or Jalen Green to be a part of that deal. And we just kind of thought, with them being just 22 and 23 years of age, it is way too soon to give up on them. And I want to say it again, I criticize Jalen Green, but I still believe in him because he is so young, and we can see all that talent with our eyes. The only thing holding him back right now, it seems like it's a mindset thing and also consistency. So I'm not ready to give up on neither one of those guys, and especially not Jalen Green just yet. But one player that I think is intriguing, and I want to know you guys' thoughts on this, when we look at Kevin Durant, because now we're hearing these reports that the Phoenix Suns, their asking price for Kevin Durant is starting to drop. So I'm thinking, if the Houston Rockets, if they can get their hands on KD without having to give up Ime Thompson, Alperen Şengün, or Jalen Green, and I want to throw Jabari Smith Jr. in there as well, because I just love Jabari Smith Jr. I love his size, his ability to shoot the three-point shot, and then his portability on defense to be in different situations. I think that is something that is so valuable in today's NBA. But if they can center some type of deal around this 10th overall pick, the Houston Rockets have future first-round draft picks as well, and then also maybe one of the young players on this team, maybe a Reed Shepherd, maybe a Cam Whitmore, because those guys do have tremendous upside. I would love the thought of Kevin Durant pairing with this Houston Rockets, playing under Coach Ime Udoka next to Ime Thompson, Jalen Green, and Alperen Şengün. I think that immediately makes them a lot better and springs them right up into championship contention. And that's what's so wonky about this right now, is that the Houston Rockets, they have the ability to keep adding young players to this roster and keep developing players, but also they're coming off a 50-win season where they were so close to advancing to the second round. It's like, do we take one small step closer to being in win now mode, or do we stay right here and keep developing our players? So it is a tricky spot to be in, but I think Kevin Durant, with his offensive ability on a defensive-minded team, a very physical team like this, because the only really way you can stop KD is by bullying him up and physically weighing him down. But I think with all them athletes and with Coach Ime Udoka, that's going to be very, very hard to do. And then another player that I like is a player that's on the Brooklyn Nets, is Cam Johnson, a guy that you don't really have to change up anything for. He's a plug-and-play player, and he adds something that the Houston Rockets desperately need, and that's more perimeter three-point shooting. So getting Cam Johnson on the Houston Rockets, that'd be big time as well. Stretch the floor a little bit more for guys like Ime Thompson, Jalen Green, and Alperen Şengün, and I think that'd be big time for the Houston Rockets as well. So those are just two guys that's coming off the top of the mind right there, but there are definitely more players out there that they can use this number 10 pick to use this number 10 pick in a trade to make their roster better. And then they can also continue the route that they've been on, because it's been working so well for them, working through the draft. They could use this number 10 overall pick, and there is some players, we're not going to get too far in it today, but there is some players in that 10 range of this year's NBA draft that could come in and could fit this system of the Houston Rockets. We're probably just going to have enough time to talk about one of these prospects today, but one guy the Houston Rockets have had their eyes on is Carter Bryant out of the University of Arizona. He is a forward, and I think the Houston Rockets, I think they would love him in their system, and he might be a player that you hold on to for a bit, a player that you put in the G League for just a little while. And this is all because the Houston Rockets, they're already a really good team. We don't see teams that win 50 games pick at number 10 that often. But Carter Bryant, he could be a player that could be beneficial to the Houston Rockets. When we look at his size, he'll fit right in. He's about 6'7", 6'8". He's a very athletic player, and he's a defensive-minded player. So he'll fit in right in the system with what the Houston Rockets got going on right now. He's also a very solid rebounder, and then he'll also be adding something that the Houston Rockets need. He has a very pretty smooth jump shot, and he's consistent, or he was consistent at the collegiate level, knocking down the three-point shot. So that is one player I think the Houston Rockets will have their eye on if they can't find a deal centered around the number 10 overall pick, and if they do end up having to select a player. So that's what I wanted to briefly go over with you guys today. I was just thinking about it. I was like, damn, the Houston Rockets, they got a lottery pick once again, but this time they made the playoffs. They won 50 games. They have an identity, and they know how good they can be on any given night. So I'm very excited to see what direction these guys decide to go in moving forward. Let me know what direction you want to see the Houston Rockets go towards moving forward. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.